Hi, I'm Lorraine Flanders, Executive Director of Libraries, and we welcome you warmly to the Marx Library, to the University campus, and to the beautiful Charles Bernard and Mary Elizabeth Rodning Gallery. We're so grateful to the Rodnings who endowed this gallery some years ago. And today we're just delighted to have Mannie Payer. About 6 months ago, my husband Paul Campbell, who's in the back, saw a sign that said estate sale in the gallery. Well, that's just like flies to honey for us. I mean, honestly. And so he came back with a kind of a carload of art, some of which I see on the walls here. And a couple of days later, we went down, and Mannie was so wonderful. I said, would you consider having a show whenever we reopen to have shows? And you were so gracious and said you would be so honored. And I thought, my goodness, we'd be honored to have you. And I was last out here Tuesday afternoon, so this afternoon was a revelation to see all this beautiful addition to art. But frankly, Mannie, I was telling my artist staff when I came in this afternoon, I said, your work was beautiful in the gallery. There was so much of it. There were other artists present too. But to see it on these very simple walls, it just sings and dances and shines. It's just beautiful. It's just luminous. And I've been up several times earlier in the week and just marveled at how wonderful it is and how, bold and graphic and warm and interesting, the different subjects. You have such great variety. So I want to thank Paula Webb, who as soon as I said, you need to talk to this gentleman, she was on the phone in about 10 seconds to bring in. I'm so glad that you're able to come to campus and we're able to open our first real set of shows, well, all shows for 2022 with your talk this afternoon. So, Mannie, come on up and tell us about yourself as an artist and your work, whatever you'd like to say. Thank you.
My late mother, every time we would pass by this facility on University Boulevard, going to the doctor's office, would always tell me, I've never seen nobody who don't go back to that university and ever visit that or anything. And I kind of looked at it, I said to myself, yeah, I don't have the time because I'm your caregiver. I didn't tell her that. But she always said, you need to go back and visit. You just go back and visit. I said, well, what for? I don't know what for. But you just need to go back and visit. Just be in the way. Sometimes just need to be in the way. Well, Mother, I am back here. And I am, like Miss Lorraine said, just, can y'all hear me? Yeah. Just elated and just tickled pink to have this opportunity to come back to my alma mater. I was at this institution, graduated from this institution, this great institution, way back in 1993. I'm a proud graduate of the best high school in town, is John Lelaflo High, and I graduated in 89. I can take this up. Yeah. And I, of course, applied. I didn't get the highest ACT in the world, but I got just enough to get in the University of South Alabama. So I came in the fall of 1989, met some wonderful people, wonderful instructors, and back then we were on the quarter system. You have your fall quarter, your winter quarter, your spring quarter, of course your summer quarter. Toward the end, when I was getting ready to graduate in 93, there was talk of going to the semester system where it is now. I kind of was wanting to hurry up and graduate because I didn't want no semester system. Because we always got out a whole week for Thanksgiving. We usually come back one day or two to take classes, and then we were in finals, and we got out the entire month of December for Christmas. So I was loving the quarter system. It wasn't really conducive to producing artwork because you have to get in there, learn, produce, and show you things in a relatively small amount of time. But most universities at that time was progressing toward the semester system. They said it was a whole lot better because you have long span of time to produce. Well, I graduated in 1993. I was the president of the Student Art Association while I was here. I believe I was the first, not the only African American who was the president. Of course, in the art department, since we are more subjective minded, we were more liberal minded, we wasn't really looking at color, black and white. We were looking at all colors. So it really didn't affect me, and I didn't really realize until probably after I graduated, I was the only African American president that we had. But we worked together. We had an awesome time when we were here. When we had our first show, my senior year, that was probably the fall of 1992. All the professors, because they, of course, had been here for a long time, said that was the best show. They've never seen that much camaraderie, that much attendance, that much participation out of the students in all their years of being here. We amassed maybe about 50 different artists. And we had two art shows, one in the fall and one in the spring. Spring art show and sale, fall art show and sale. We promoted sale. We distributed flyers all over the campus. We used the student center, and they're probably doing that today. Used the student center to have our displays. We had display booths and everything. We had pedestals, so much so that we had to build more the last year that I was the president coming into 1993. And that was a huge show. And since I'm in the University of South Alabama archives, I would like to present to you a little gem that I found as I was rummaging through and moving out of my art gallery. Something from that time period. Look at this. Spring Art Show and Sale, May the 27th, 26th, 27th, and 28th. Unfortunately, as students, we weren't conscientious about time, and so we didn't put the actual year on there. But I can reassure you that it's from 1993. So that's a little time capsule for you. And it's produced by myself. Now, I graduated with a Bachelor of Fine Arts, concentration in graphic design, and my minor was printmaking. Screen printing, fancy, I could say hardy-tardy word is serigraphy. Also, woodcut. The fancy word for that is relief printing. And my instructors were John Cleverton and Sumi Putman. Miss Putman, she was the instructor for the intaglio, the printing with plates, metal plates. Also with stone, lithography, excuse me. And Mr. Cleverton was the instructor for screen printing, and also woodcut. This show that you see here is somewhat of a timeline of a progression of my artwork. And it begins on this end with actually some pieces that are about 30 years old. The first 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 pieces were done while I was in this magnificent institution. That's Alita, that's a woodcut. Then you have majestic flowers. Then you have dance of the seahorses. You have a capital, and then you also have Ionic Revival. Those are screen prints. After I left the university, I started to produce these historic Mobile posters. While I was here, got inspired and thrilled when I was taking art history. Some of our art history instructors was Philip O'Shusix, Robert Bantons, and Ms. Gandy. They taught us, of course, ancient art. They taught us 20th century art. Dr. James Kennedy, he was the longtime chairman. He was taught African art. But when I also was taught about like Romanesque, taught about all those different Corinthian revivals, I started to realize how much architecture that we had here living with us that we can actually see in the city of Mobile that was taken from ancient times. That's when I first got my love for architecture and historic preservation. Those two pieces there, architecture number 2, that's a depiction of and there's an actual photograph of what they call a Corinthian capital. And the second Ionic Revival, that's my version of an Ionic capital. So my love for architecture, historic preservation came from right here at the University of South Alabama. And I am so eternally grateful for all that this university has given me and has endowed me with. On from the 1990s in which these posters were produced, went on to produce some other things. My mother, of course, the late Mrs. Ada A. Pear, of course, being a very influential lady, was seeing my work and said, why don't you do something, start doing some things about your heritage? Why don't you start doing some things about your people? So I started with the series called Heritage Profile Series. What you see is not all of them. Several of them were sold thanks to Mr. Paul Campbell. Recently sold, and about a year ago it was sold. My long-term goal for those were to be in a traveling exhibit. Each one of the depictions has an artifact that was going to be displayed with it. The Earl the Blacksmith, we have actual blacksmith tools that we're going to put with that. Saturday's Wash, we have an actual washboard. The Carpenter, we have old carpentry tools. So, and we also have a grandma's yo-yo quilt, and you may see that in the brochure. We actually have a yo-yo quilt, grandpa's banjo, and we had Georgia, the banker. You had Ada, the stenographer, which was my mother. She was a what you call back then a stenographer, which is the secretary. Have an old typewriter, even an old the chair that she used back in the 50s and all. So all of the pictures are from the late 1800s, early 1900s. And she was the author behind each one of those. Of course, I wasn't there. So she would tell me exactly what to put in those pictures, in those paintings, in those depictions. On and on, as you see the show, you see that art comes in many forms. You can use almost any type of palette. You can use almost any type of surface to create art. And I started to experiment with painted furniture, which you see in the ladder back chairs there. On and on, progressively through time, I started to experiment with just purely abstract paintings. Someone asked me, what is your style of painting? What do you do? What do you paint? What type of things do you paint? And it's always a difficult question for me to answer because I have many styles. I have many subject matters. And I love them all. So I don't really stick in one genre or one subject matter. I love folk painting. I call myself a educated folk artist of sorts. Folk artists not normally learn people. Their art is primitive looking. But since I am learning, since I have a college degree, since I've been taught perspective and foreshortening, it's something that you, of course, just can't get away from. So you have to use that learning in my depictions and then I have to kind of, for lack of a better word, folksy it up. So, I think it's a unique style. And also, like I said, I would love to get into just abstract art, totally abstract. Just let my mind just flow. Just start with a color, start with a particular shape, and just let it progress. And who knows when I'm going to be finished with it. Most of my work is planned. You have to plan what you want to do. You have to already know where you're going with something. But some of the abstract art is just pure inspiration. The other paintings down further are somewhat abstract and somewhat realistic. You will see that all of my work has color to it. It has patterns. It has textures, which I just absolutely love. Got to have some patterns in there. Got to have some texture. Love color. And toward the end, there's a painting down there which you may not have seen. It has, believe it or not, clothespins on it. I was in a craft store one day, and I was just casually walking through the aisles and all. And I saw all these clothespins, all different sizes. And also, I said, you know what? Clothespins are made to hang clothes. So I went back to my Saturday's wash, the lady with the washboard. Why don't I make a painting with nothing but clothes hanging on a clothesline with all those clothespins? Use the big ones for the clothes that are closer to you. Use the smaller ones for the ones that are farther away. And it worked. It worked perfectly. So, believe it or not, I went through a long time of, and I guess all artists do, went to a long dry period or a desert period. I thought that 2 years ago when we were very in the midst of COVID 2020, where we were told to shut down, don't go anywhere. That would be the perfect time for stay at home. You have to find different things to do. You can, so that'd be a perfect time, I thought, for artists to produce art. I did not produce one single thing that entire year. I guess my eyes were tuned to the TV, was tuned to what the former governor of New York was going to do every day, you know, the mind wasn't on that. So that painting is called The Boiling Pot at the very far end of the exhibit, was produced last year, 2021, the early part of last year. And that's when the juices start flowing and the inspiration started coming. I don't know why, I don't know how it came, but and also the painting next to it has a depiction of a large rooster. So I said, you know what, I can use my love for art. My love for art, but my love for color and pattern. Then I realized, you know what, roosters are colorful. I didn't realize that until last year. You know, roosters are very, very, very colorful birds. As colorful as a parrot. As colorful as a peacock. They are beautiful animals. Roosters. If you look at one, they're not just one color. They have brilliant feathers in the tail. Then they have a totally brilliant different feathers in the wings, you know. So I created a painting called The Big Rooster down there last year. I was just moving and shaking. I was just burning up with inspiration. And I told several people that for me, for an artist to produce artwork, there are three things that you have to have, at least for me. You have to have the time. You can't have anything else on your schedule. You have to have the time to do it. Second of all, you have to have the inspiration. Something has to inspire you. Something has to motivate you. Something within you just has to get out. You got to have the motivation. And the third thing, you have to have the energy, the physical energy. Now, if one of those things is not there, for me at least, it's hard to produce something. I may have the time to do it. I may have the energy to do it. But if I don't have any inspiration, I'm just sitting there, you know, just all frustrated, and I just don't know what to do, you know. I may have the inspiration to do it. I may have the time to do it. But if I've been using my time doing this, running there, and I'm all tired out, I don't have any energy, it's not going to get done. Now, if I have the energy to do it, if I have the inspiration to do it, I'm just ready. But I have umpteen million things to do that I don't have time for, it's still not going to happen. So maybe that's a formula I need to teach worldwide or something. You have to have, an artist has to have time. Nothing else in the schedule. You have to have the inspiration. You got to be motivated. And you have to have the energy, the physical energy. Sometimes when the artists start producing things, and at least when I have, even when a seamstress starts to work on as my mother was a seamstress, sometimes when she would work on the dress, she just want to keep going and keep going and keep going all night long until it finishes. You just don't want to get rid of it. You just don't want to let it go until you finish the thing. So if we have some artists here, you probably have that that feeling before. But I would just like to, in conclusion, just like to thank Of course, Miss Flanders, your better half, Paul, for even, I guess, coming down to the gallery and discovering me, I guess rediscovering me, and of course Miss Paula Webb for working so diligent and working so patiently with this with this artist who I don't know if other artists are the same way. You know, we're not quite on the schedule. Sometimes it's a little finicky, you know, and she's been patient and diligent all the way. And I just thank you for working with me. Because this was supposed to have been put up probably last week, you know. But anyway, but we had to. The artists in us had to, you know, be inspired and get the energy and get the time, and it all works out at the end. And I can't would be amiss if I didn't mention the late Dr. Richard Wood, who actually bought all of these posters of the historic districts, and there are more. There's about 10 or 12. And I also like to thank the University Library Archives for purchasing, not only Dr. Woods purchased them, but they have archived them in their archives. So it would be a permanent fixture of this university for years to come and for generations to come. And last but not least, when they hear this telecast, Mr. and Mrs. Charles and Mary Rodney. Dr. Rodney has bought 2 of my pieces, and if you have y'all ever seen Dr. Rodney? Y'all have seen him? I'll tell you one quick story. Dr. Rodney came into the gallery one time. And that was a time when my mother was there with me. We have a printing business also in the building, and the art gallery was on the other side. Anyway, so if you knew Dr. Rodney, you know Dr. Rodney, he looks very eccentric, to say the least. Wild hair, kind of smells of tobacco. Anyway, so he came in the shop. I already met him. Invited him to the shop. He came to the shop. Hair was all wild. Eccentric. He may not think it's wild. He just get up in the morning and just shake it and keep going, you know. Of course, it smokes, but you can kind of smell it on him. I believe he had a mustache. I believe he had a mustache at the time. And since he was also a medical doctor, he had a stethoscope around his neck with some scrubs on and a jacket. He came in, I said, "Hey there, Dr. Rodney, how you doing? He came into the foyer and came into the front parlor. We had 2 rooms of the gallery. My mother was in the back. She came and kind of peeked up there. And in the downtown area at that time, probably in the mid-90s, they were trying to get rid of all the vagrants and homeless folks and different questionable looking people in the downtown area. My mother had that in her mind. She peeked up there and looked and saw Dr. Rodney, and already made some preconceived notions about his looks. I left Dr. Rodney up there. I went back to another room where my mother was. She said to me, "Mannie," that's my nickname. "Who's that man up there?" "Oh, why you let no homeless man come up over here like that for? Why you do that? we talked to the homeless. Get no homeless man out of here. You ain't gonna buy nothing. Get him out there. I said, Mama, that's Dr. Rodney. I said, who? She said, who? I said, that's Dr. Rodney. She said, oh my Lord, is that Dr. Rodney? I said, that's Dr. Rodney. I said, oh, okay. So anyway, so we both went there and greeted him again, and he purchased actually a print of Earl the blacksmith. I don't know if a blacksmith was in his family, but he actually purchased a print of that. So when he sees this telecast, I would like to thank you, Dr. Rodney, and your lovely wife, who is also inspiration in the Sumi painting. Very lovely lady. And I would just like to thank this university and Paula and Lorene and Paul and everyone who had a part in making me who I am today. Thank you.